whole police academy opus was started in San Francisco. Paul Maslansky got the idea there. He was working on The Right Stuff, and he was somewhere in San Francisco, and there were a whole bunch of people from the police academy being used as crowd control.
And as the buses unloaded, a very kind of zigzag zebra line formed, and I noticed that it was the most diverse group of policemen I had ever seen. There were men and there were women and there were every color of the rainbow, and fat and thin. And I called the cadre officer over, a sergeant. He said, well, look, we have a fair employment hiring practice here, and we have to take in virtually everybody that applies to the academy. And then he looked around and he winked. He said, but we can flunk them out after 3 weeks. And that night I went home and I thought about it. I said, what if a group of these people that were accepted to the police academy, what if they decided that they're not going to be thrown out and they're determined to stay? And the object of it was to put together an ensemble cast of really funny people, people who understand comedy, who have a funny bone. And working with Hugh Wilson casting was one of the great experiences.
I can't think of a movie where it was really more like a team project.
We had two remarkable casting directors, Pamela Baskin and Fern Champion.
And every time we found a new person, we got very excited about it.
So every day that we would have casting sessions into the office with Hugh Wilson and myself, with either Pamela or Fern, the casting directors in the room, would come the most remarkable characters.
My screen test, it was exciting. I was just starting out. I just got done with Diner, and I wore my father's police shirt from the academy. My dad was a police officer.
Right away, he had an attitude, which was perfect, and we saw it. And the screen test was terrific.
Sorry. Get out of here.
Mahoney is a great character, classic Bugs Bunny, classic fellow who loves to have a great time, loves to find the good in everybody, and also is a little bit selfish, which makes him very human. Oh, he's somebody who loves pranks and loves to play with authority, and ultimately he becomes authority.
You have this thing about you that...
Magnetism?
Well, it could be, but what you bring out, it just...
Oozes.
Oozes.
Oozes out of me. Oozes out of me.
You know,
slime.
And I
sort of like slime.
Sort of.
Yes, sir. Shit, death.
GW is my authority figure, and he's the one who's trying to make it hard for me and trying to get me kicked out of the police academy.
I said, why wouldn't anybody want to play this? I said, I think this guy's great. I thought he was wonderful. I mean, I loved him from the beginning, you know, such a great martinet and the perfect foil, you know, everybody loves to hate.
We are the meanest instructors here.
I was never bad, I was never mean, I was misunderstood. I had a mother, and he was probably pretty much of a mama's boy. And so he's just a character, just a fun, broad character that's great to play.
If you're trying to get thrown out of here, Mahoney, I'm afraid that's quite impossible.
The opening, you know, the very first scene for me, when Mahoney and Jones met each other for the first time, and Hugh insisted that this guy was so crazy that he had his own title, his own name. So, Dr. Monsignor Larvell Jones III, M.D. Jr., Esquire.
God damn it! Stop that!
We had heard about Michael Winslow, that he was a stand-up comic, and he was opening for Count Basie in Long Beach. And Fern said, this guy is just terrific. We arrive at the ballroom in Long Beach. It was packed, everybody waiting to hear Count Basie. And Up steps Michael, and he gets to the microphone, and there was no sound from the microphone. Michael didn't hesitate for a second. There was a fire marshal in the room, and he said, "Wait a second, folks." He went off the stand, went to the fire marshal, and said, "Do you have a loud hailer?" And the fire marshal said, "Yes, I do." And he did the act with a loud hailer, and it was fantastic. Brought the house down. The Count Basie was just knocked out.
Cadet Mahoney, report immediately to the Commandant's office. Cadet Mahoney.
You've been always, whenever we are anywhere, you have the funniest noises. We can go into a restaurant, we can go into a show.
Keep us out of jail.
The greatest noises.
Debbie Callahan is just a wonderful, strong, tough, and no-nonsense woman. And I really had to work in order to do the audition. She was described as a female Wayne Newton with a mustache, 45 years old. And I nearly shot my agents. And they said, well, they might go a different way with it. And I think they did.
Holy. Don't worry, I can explain everything.
Shut up.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, she was one of those people who didn't wait around for someone to ask her out. But my ex-husband was really intimidating and a wonderful actor. And so I rented a studio and I had a writing crop and I worked 2 afternoons going wah, 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 with fun. And he actually got intimidated. And so I went to the audition and intimidated Hugh Wilson and Paul Maslansky. And I thought, you know, I'm not going to get this. They looked scared. And I got it.
Who's next?
That's me! I love you.
So do you think of me as an authority figure?
Absolutely. Otherwise, I'd have married you years ago.
My name is Commandant Lassard. Welcome to the new police force.
He developed as a rather out-to-lunch, dreamy character.
You will be schooled in firearms, police procedures, local laws, and many, many.
I mean, he's the man in charge, and he's the man with the least idea of what to do. But he always ends up saving the day just by accident. What a wonderful character.
Here at the academy.
He actually was a totally misplaced person.
George has a past that just goes on, that is so rich and so full. And the man who played Lassard is so full that with an empty character, there isn't any room left. He's filled it up so much.
There was an actor, a French actor, who was partly my inspiration. He was called Jacques Tati, originally a Russian count by origin, a man of great charm and wit, and I owe him a debt of gratitude. A lovely man.
I can't quit. Of course you can. Many, many wonderful people have quit. Many, many. Commandant?
There was a very nice philosophical moment in the scene with you when you complained to me in the office. Remember? Right. And you finally say,
I'm trapped here?
Well, yes.
And then I look up and I say, aren't we all?
Hugh said then, he said, do you want the job? I said, yeah. You know, and he says, doesn't pay that much. I said, I don't care. I want the job. He was basically, loved everybody, you know, and showed up. You know, he would just appear. And I kept asking Hugh, where am I coming from? You know, he said, it doesn't matter. You just show up and help.
My agent had said they're looking for an actor to do physical comedy stuff, which was my background. And I actually, when I went into the audition, they called me in, I swung the door open and then walked through it and did a flip and flew into the air and landed on my back and said, "Hi, I'm Donovan Scott." And Hugh Wilson laughed and said, "I think you got this."
Guys, I don't think I'm supposed to get photos with.
Leslie Barbara, well, Leslie's kind of a mama's boy. He's had it kind of cushy at home and always had, you know, people take care of him. and finds out that nobody's going to take care of him in the police academy.